A driver I worked with took an order to a shady motel in town known to be a cheap and a short-term motel for sketchy guys recently out of prison. Probably some dealings and all different illegal things went up in that motel. So the driver shows up to the motel room that ordered and the door is already open. There's a guy laying on the bed. The driver knocks, but the guy doesn't move. The driver calls out the name on the delivery ticket. The guy still doesn't move. The driver keeps calling out to him thinking he's asleep or maybe passed out drunk. The guy across the hall hears this and comes out to see what's up. He knows the guy laying on the bed that ordered the pizza. Or did he? He decides to walk into the room, wake the guy up, but the guy won't wake up. So they decided to call the police and the ambulance. The police and the emergency responders arrived. The guy on the bed was dead. Police take the driver's witness statement and the statement of the guy across the hall who discovered the body. No appearance of foul play. It looks like the guy just died of a cardiac arrest or something. The weird part is that the guy across the hall who found the guy in the bed unresponsive asked to pay for the pizza. The driver still had well, I guess he's not going to eat the pizza now, so I'll take it off your hands. My friend told me that he couldn't quite believe what on earth had happened. He said that the guy gave him really bad vibes, saying that he literally just brushed off discovering a dead body as if it was nothing. Now that kind of backed up our point that this motel was just from another world, literally like living in hell, all the illegal things that went down there. And when the police turned up, it was like they'd been there that time during that night multiple times. That wasn't their first visit there. Although finding a dead body there was probably the worst thing that had happened at that motel for many years prior. So my friend was stood there giving a witness statement to the police saying what happened. The guy was also stood there that discovered the body. He the whole time was trying to get the pizza out of my friend's hands, offering to pay double just to get the pizza, saying that he was hungry. My friend said that even he was shook up. He's not exactly the most emotionally stable person, but he doesn't get affected by much things. He's not cried in years, he told me, but he felt like crying. That night he felt super uneasy and the guy who took the pizza eventually gave him really bad suspicious vibes. But I guess the motel was super dodgy. I deliver for Marco's Pizza. I had the delivery one night and thought it would be just like any other delivery I've had in the past. Live in Georgia, so I usually deliver to the rural areas. I was about to get off in an hour or so, and I got this delivery to this road that I knew was in a very wooded area. As soon as I get up to the house, the person's driveway was like a quarter of a mile long, so I just decided to drive up the driveway and park up the top. I get the food out of my car, a pen and a receipt, and start walking towards the front door. As I'm walking to the front door, a middle-aged skinny woman comes out from behind the house and says, "Hey, we're over here in the garage." Now, that was the first red flag to me. I go to the lady's garage, but I just stand outside the doorway. I look inside the garage, and there are two overweight old men sitting in recliner chairs, all in cameo clothing. I look at the walls, and there are at least 5 rebel flags hanging, 6 dead deer heads, and a Trump 2016 poster on the wall. Now, at the time of this delivery, I was a 17-year-old young lady. This was something that I was feeling really uneasy with. The elderly skinny lady kept trying to get me to sit down and join them in the garage. I don't know if this was their plan all along, but I felt super spooked out. I soon realized that I had to just hang their pizza over and get the hell out of there. Now, they hadn't paid, so they had to give me cash. But the 3 men were all sat there on the recliners looking like they were in no hurry to grab their wallets to pay me the cash that they owed. So as I stood there like a lemon, literally waiting for them to hurry up and pay before I hand the pizzas over, they just sat there staring at me. This is when the older lady comes up to me, grabs my elbow as if in a caring gesture to guide me into the garage. This is when I start to freak out big time. I stand my ground and go all stiff. This old lady is trying everything to respectfully and peacefully push me into that garage. I don't know what they were trying to do, but I had an idea in my mind what was going on here. These were the red flags that really shot off in my head, and I knew I needed to get out of there fast. I'd probably reached the last point of giving them the pizza, and this was now just about my safety. Grandma on my right couldn't stop holding me and pushing me in gently into the garage. The three other men on their recliners weren't doing anything, but they were staring me up and down continually. I asked them, "Are you ready to pay? Do you want the pizza?" And then I said their address, and to confirm it was them that ordered a pizza, they said yes, but then just still sat there and stared at me. I really had no idea what to do, and I said, "I need you to pay now or I'm going to leave with your pizzas." The guy gets a bit annoyed at this and gets out his recliner. He then begins to come to my left-hand side. So at this point, I now have Grandma on my right and this weird, really overweight dude on my left. He was now guiding me on my other elbow, asking me, could I just come and sit with them for a few minutes while I've got Grandma on my right and the man on my left. One of the other guys who was sat in a recliner gets up and walks to the back of the garage. He grabs out another similar recliner chair just like what they're sat on and folds it up so I can basically sit on it. I didn't know what to do at this point, and I thought I was pretty much trapped. My mobile was in the car and I was now basically being held captive in this garage. So I went along with it. I basically walked in, sat in a recliner and opened up the pizza box to give them their pizzas. I decided to hand them their pizzas to see if that was a distraction that could buy me some time. They still weren't paying and for some reason hadn't even got their wallets ready. The grandma still seemed happy. Now that I'd sat down and was no longer holding me and touching me up to go in the garage, they all started talking to me, and the whole conversation was based around how beautiful I looked and how amazing my hair and eyes were. I've never been a victim before, but I knew what was just about to happen. I needed to get out of there, whether I literally ran or what I needed to. So I hand them all their pizzas as a distraction, grab my bag immediately, stand up like a bolt and walk to my car, walking as fast as I've ever walked in my life. I made it sure not to run, and I said they could call through and pay for the pizzas later that evening. I made up any excuse just to get out of there, and I was willing to no longer wait for that money that they owed. As I was walking away to the car, I'd left the car open. I knew all I needed to do was get in that car and immediately drive away. I was wondering in my mind if any of them would get up and try and chase me. My grandma looked about 98 years old and definitely couldn't run very fast, so I can't really say I would have beaten her to the car. I'm not a runner, but the other three guys looked like they could barely walk and were huffing and puffing, just leaning over to take the pizza boxes. So I fancied my chances. It was either that or they were going to do something pretty nasty for me, in my opinion. So like I said, I stand bolt upright and really pace-walked at the car. I throw my box in the back and immediately slam the door shut, turning the keys to the car ignition faster than I'd ever done in my entire life. I could tell behind me that they had got out of their seats in the garage and were walking over to me. They were so slow though, and overweight, that I had enough time to get out of there. I sped away faster than I had ever driven in that car as well. I was crying the whole drive back and told my manager what happened. He reported their address, and apparently the police went to have a word with them the following days. After I decided to stay in store that time and stop working as deliveries. At the time, I was just turning 18 and I was really worried after what had just happened. What were the chances? They really were just some crazy nice family that literally wanted me to sit with them. Well, I think they were quite low considering from the get-go they were complimenting me on my appearance non-stop, and the three guys were giving super creepy vibes. I think the grandma must have been one of their mothers who was just trying to get me in with deception, pretending that she was somehow kind and caring, just like those rings that used the old ladies to abduct children. I think that's what they tried with me. So it's snowing outside. And of course my car can't make it up the long residential street to the house at the very top of the hill I needed to deliver to. After several attempts, I decided that I had to walk about 2 blocks of the snowy road and leave the car parked up, down lower below the hill. I get to a large, normal-looking house, ring the bell, but there's no answer. I hear a guy yelling at someone inside. Knock, ring again, but no answer. Still there's more yelling, but it's obvious he's yelling at someone on the phone rather than in the house. I can see that the door I'm at goes into a small mudroom with a door to the house inside. So basically like a front door leading to a porch, I decide to step into the porch and knock on the inner door. I know, not a great idea. This guy finally opens the door and is like, "What do you want?" I'm wearing a uniform and holding a pizza delivery bag. "What do you think I want?" I think in my head now the guy was a middle-aged guy with a mustache and he had blood coming from cut out of his eyebrow, a cut on his lip, and blood coming from his nose, and his knuckles were all torn up. I had no idea what I just walked in on. Felt like some kind of underground MMA fight scene where this guy had just been doing 10 rounds with the latest boxer. Anyway, dude just got into a fight. Turns out he lost. I see inside and half an empty bottle of Jack is chilling on the coffee table. So I kind of get the idea that this guy has just had a massive fight and was probably on the phone to the police. He says to me, "I didn't order a pizza. It's probably John's." Then the guy just turns and goes back into the living room and sits down to take another swig of Jack. "Is John here?" I ask. The guy says he's upstairs. The guy points to a staircase just inside the door on the left. Okay, I guess I will go in and give John his pizza since the drunk fighter isn't going to do anything about it and just expects me to walk in their house casually. I didn't know what to do at this point, and I really thought to myself, was it worth walking in the house? What was John going to react like if I knocked on his room door, stood there with a pizza? Did he know that his friend had just been in a fight? Was this some kind of setup? I'd had enough. I wasn't getting paid enough for this. I didn't call John because at that point I was so annoyed about getting stuck in the snow earlier and making so much effort to deliver this pizza just to be treated like trash. All the walking up the hill through the snow, waiting a while for the drunk idiot to answer the door and getting sketched out. I figured if John wanted his pizza, he could call back or come pick it up himself. So I turned around, went back into the porch and shut both the doors, leaving the house of some underground fight den as I found it. John never called to ask where his pizza was, and that made me more sketched out about the whole situation. Weird. No idea what on earth I had just encountered, but that was by far the most weird story I have to tell you guys about my delivery days.